Hey everybody, we are here. It's my 9th video, I believe, and this is Jupiter in the 11th house. And this was requested by somebody named Gifts, I believe it was. And I said, give me a couple days, but it took me like 2 weeks. But it's okay, because here we are. Jupiter, in a nutshell, is joy, joviality. Those are kind of like the same things, expansion, and luck. And the 11th house is about friends, social circles, the types of friends that you'll attract in your life, the type of friend that you are to others, groups or causes that you champion, and your hopes, dreams, and wishes in a nutshell. And so the most literal definition or manifestation that we can see of this is that you will have many friends. You will have a very expanded social circle. You will have many friends. You will be like a friend magnet in a sense. Wherever you go, you'll just kind of like pick one or two or maybe 5, 6, 7. Wherever you go, you're just like attracting friends to you. This can be at the supermarket, at the local pizza store, at the nail salon, then you go to the park, and then you go to the skating rink, and then you go to the bar, and just wherever you go, you have that energy that radiates out, and then it brings other people to you. It doesn't matter if the connection is lifelong or not. The point is that you will attract them to you and you will have that bond in a sense to start. And what you guys do with that or make of that is your choice, but you will have them. Your friend list is endless. These are people who will constantly be like, oh, so my friend Caitlin, and then also my friend Kay, and then also my friend Miranda, and then also my friend Ashley, and then also and it never ends. They will always say, oh yeah, and my friend so-and-so, and it will always be a new name, somebody you never heard of, or maybe somebody you heard of multiple times, but you haven't met yet. The friends list is never ending. One friend in particular I have a couple friends who have 11th house placements, but I have one friend in particular, her name's Kay, and she has been my longest friend. I've known her since I was 17 and I'll be 26, so she's the longest friend I have. I've known her for, 9 years, and I still haven't met all her friends. Like, she still tells me about people since we've been in high school to now, and I still haven't met all of them. And so just the fact that she has been my friend for such a long time, longer than anyone else, and that she has so many friends that she's known even longer than me, and she's still friends with them, and there are so many of them. I feel like she was just such a good example of like an 11th house Jupiter person, and it's in Libra, so the sign it's in will also add to the sociability. If it's in air, it'll be very sociable, like Aquarius, Libra, Gemini. Yeah, you will make friends very quickly and open up very quickly. I remember one time my friend Kay came to my house, like she knocked on my door as she just started this new job where it's like that job where you go door to door and you're like selling energy or whatever. And she was like, she was coming over and she was like, where did my friend go? She was just right behind me. And I'm like, what friend? She was like, oh yeah, I just met her today at work, and then we became friends and now we're hanging out after work. And it was just like, that's so fast, but that's how you feel, and that's how people feel around you. You just open up that friendship part of yourself easily, and then they feel easy to give it back to you. And so that's part of what helps the melding of friendships become so quick. 11th house Jupiter, your friendships, and I just talked about this, they can last a lifetime. Friendship breakups are inevitable. You lose contact with people, you grow out of people, you have arguments, fights with people. That's just a part of life. No one keeps the same friend group all the way from beginning to end, but yours will be robust. Whether they be lifelong or not, they will be strong and have a solid foundation in what they are, and it will really take something very substantial to break you guys up at all. You have friends that are of all varieties. You're the type of person who can go in and out of different social groups, and each social group will be different. Like that scene from Mean Girls where she was like going over each, group of the table, and it's just like, you don't have one particular group that you fit in with or that you can be labeled as. And even if you do, you just have such an ease with going in from one group to the next. Your friends will be of all types. Jupiter is about expansion, and the 11th house is about friendships. And it's also about your oddities a little bit. This is the house of Aquarius, so the quirks and the differentness and the individuality of people. And so you are open to different types of individualities of different people. I mean, this can be goth, popular, unpopular. You'll know the kid that nobody knows. My 11th house Jupiter friend Kay, I was the new kid at school. She befriended me. She was like the first person at the school to really get to know me, and then she helped introduce me to other people. You can connect other friends that you have to other friend groups. So like I said, you know all these different people at all these different lunch tables. You could be like, hey, my friend Kate over here and my friend Brittany over here. I know both of them, but they don't know each other. And so you can really help bring people together, and you can be just a really strong force in creating and mending and melding is the right word, positive friendships, not only between you and yourself, but between other people. You will have friends all over the map. So like as an adult, this will be somebody who has friends all over the country, maybe in different countries, in all different departments. Let's say you work at a job and you work in like accounting, but you know people like in the warehouse, and you know people in HR, and you know people who clean. Like your friend circle is very expanded wherever you may be, and in different types of interpretations that can come out in. Your friends will be a great benefactor to you, especially because you have such a wide variety. So if you ever need anything, you don't have just one group or one type of person that you can call on. You have a variety of people in your network, and that's really what the 11th house also is. It's a network of people. You have a lot of benefactors in your network to help you. Every time you need something, a friend might have it. For example, you're getting evicted, and then your friend's like, oh, by the way, I need a new roommate this week. It's like perfect timing, just like that. You want a puppy, and your friend's like, hey, you know, my mom's dog just had a litter of puppies unexpectedly. Like whatever you need or are wanting, whatever type of luck is needing to be in your life, it can come through the channel of your friends and of the people that you socialize with. And not only do you get the benefactor of the opportunity from the benefit of the opportunity from knowing the person, you might not just get the dog, you might get a cheap dog, you might get a free dog, you might not just get a room with your roommate, you might get somebody who is offering you a discounted price, or somebody that you feel more comfortable with than you would with a stranger. A more direct version of this is that you can just flat out ask for help. It might not be so literal as someone be like, hey, I have a dog, and when you just were talking about a dog, but you might have a group of friends that you can call on, and they will be able to be there for you and help you out in whatever way you need. I'm gonna try the mic, and hopefully that helps with some noise cancellation. All right, so a positive, back up from the camera. A positive example, let's just say you're trying to start your own business. You can call on your friends for their associations, their networks, and their connections, who they might know to be able to help you. You can call on them for money. You can call on them for their knowledge and their expertise, their know-how, if they're more experienced in something than you are. So that's a positive example of how you can use this. A negative example of how this can play out, let's just say you're somebody who's always calling people and borrowing money for rent. You have more people to call and borrow from, therefore extending your time and extending the amount of money that you can have. And so those are just two different examples of how it can play out. I always give positive and negative because things can manifest in any type of way. There's no set way something manifests. Even though it's Jupiter, it doesn't mean like, oh, good friends. No, there's all different types of manifestations. So I try to be as, thorough in getting the point across to you guys as I can. And I know I've been talking about a benefactor in the term that you might gain something, but a friend can be a benefactor to you just by being a good friend, just by having good friends in any person's life, no matter your placement, just as being a human being that is helpful to us on our journey to help us, get and give advice, make good decisions, be inspired, be encouraging, be encouraged. So just having a good friend in general is a benefactor. Not to mention the actual practical things that they can do for you. Just having a friend there means a lot. You attract good friends because you are a good friend, and people feel that energy from you and they return it. Unconsciously, or maybe consciously, but you're just born with the knowledge and the know-how of what makes a friend a good friend. And so you just act that out effortlessly. It's not something you have to learn or read a book about. You just know it and feel it and you just do it. You won't do things like gossip behind people's back or steal from them or try to lead them down a wrong path. And your friends aren't going to do that to you either. People view you as a great friend and a great joy in their life. So you will have a very active social circle. Lots of invitations, invitations to birthday parties, invitations to social gatherings, weddings. Will always be invited to things because people are like, hey, I like that guy or I like that girl. I want them to come to this or that. And they will have known you for a long time and will speak highly of your qualities even before you get there, which already, again, sets you up, just like a cookout, for example, everyday example, to go in and make more friends and follow those people on Instagram and get their numbers and meet up with them. And so you're ever expanding your social circle. Many friends on social media, these are the people who may have 5, 6, 7, 800 friends on Facebook, and you might see them with maybe a quarter or a third or half these people, and they might know most of these people, whereas, I don't want to say normal, but somebody might know everyone in our social media circle, but it'll have like 100 followers, me for example. Or you can have one who has 25,000 followers, but they only know 200 or 300 people. So stuff like that. You will actually have your internet can show the connection that you have and how vast it is, and it can be very genuine. You love being in a crowd. You love being surrounded by people. So this is stuff like concerts, conventions, like art galleries, and the type of crowd will be determined by the type of Jupiter. So if you're like a Jupiter in Leo, you might, like I said, love being in the crowd, concert, party, that type of vibe where everyone's having fun. If you are Jupiter in Libra, you might love to be like at a Botox party. If you are a Jupiter in Gemini, you might like being at a book club, reading, discussing, conversing ideas, sharing intellect and things like that with other people. You love being in crowds, especially when there are crowds centered around your sign and specifically catering to your Jupiter and what you like to do. You have very lucky friends. This is somebody who, it could be like a receptionist at a record label and then befriend like, I don't know, like a famous person. It's like you have friends that other people might be jealous of or envious of, or like, oh, I want to be that person's friend. Like you have that ability in a sense. Your friends may be famous or they may win the lottery. Your friends may be people that other people that are very exclusive, or that other people really want to try to be their friends, or you are viewed, like I said, as lucky for trying to be their friend. So I'll give you an example. I had an old coworker of mine, his name was Matt, and we would always talk about what we were going to go do on our days off, and he's like, yeah, I'm about to fly to Florida, and I'm like, you only have 2 days off, you're going to fly to Florida and come back to Philly? And he's like, yeah, I have this friend. He's been my friend since high school. And his dad owned a couple of car dealerships. And in high school, everyone wanted to be his friend because he was so rich. And he had a pool and he had a very nice house. And, they got to go to like NASCAR races down in Florida, which is what he was trying to go to, and stuff like that. And so everyone just wanted to be his friend because of that. And he was like, Matt said, my coworker, he said, I never cared about that. I always just wanted to be his friend because I thought he was a really good person. And so he saw the genuineness in me, and they maintained connections over all these years. And so because he was friends with this wealthy, influential, I guess you would say, person, he got exclusive seats, got invited to exclusive things, races, got to fly on his private jet, just got to be a part of his luxurious lifestyle. Like I said, that a lot of people wanted to be a part of, and a lot of people tried to befriend, but they couldn't. So you're lucky in a sense with your friends. But also, a good representation of 11th house Jupiter was that he said, I'm very much not using him. He's been my friend for years, and he just is my friend. And Matt was a very good person. That's a great example of 11th house Jupiter, like a scenario that it could present in the native's life. You could, let's just say you're trying to start a clothing line, but you have one friend who's like knows a manufacturer at a warehouse, and you have another friend who draws, and you have another friend who's like really tough on you, who's like, yeah, don't slack off, like stay on top of what you need to stay on top of. those are the types of benefactors. When you look back on your life, you will say, wow, my life was really improved, shaped, and bettered by the connections that I made, by the friends that I had. And not just because they are your friend or just because of what they can provide, but because of both. Wishes with your friends to fight for a cause, or while you're fighting for a cause, you may make friends. An example of such an organization is like PETA, for example. You have a bunch of people all rallying together because they all believe strongly in something. And let's just say you have a girl, Sally, and another girl, Sue. These people may have never crossed paths, may have never met, may have never known that each other even existed if it wasn't for the cause that they were fighting for together. Maybe they live in the same neighborhood, maybe they pass each other in the supermarket, but how often do you just go outside and make a random friend? No, there's usually some point of connection or communication that starts the friendship off. And so fighting for your causes and being around causes that you believe in bring more people into your circle who believe what you believe. And it also is a conduit, I believe I'm using that word right, for creating friendships, because you already are similar to them, because you already have the same values and you cared about them enough to come out and fight for them, whatever they may be. It doesn't just have to be PETA, it could be women's rights, it could be marching for the Amber Rose Slut Walk, it can be not wearing animal fur, it could be vegetarianism, it could be LGBTQ marches, going to like a gay pride parade, things that you gather for a greater cause. The Black Lives Matter movement is one that's going on right now. Just organizations that can bring people together and create friendships while also improving the world, which is another 11th house thing. And the types of groups that you'll be in, once again, will be determined by your Jupiter. But no matter what sign it's in, because it is 11th house Jupiter, it will be, you are fighting for usually it's considered a progressive at the time, belief that you feel will better society. The women who are fighting for women's rights in the 60s or whenever it was, it's kind of sad, I don't know that, the suffrage movement, the people who are fighting for Black Lives Matter now and back then, people who are fighting for PETA. I mean, at the time that you are fighting for these beliefs, you and your group, it's not the standard. I mean, think about abolitionists back when slavery was a thing. Slavery was in effect, and there were people who said, no, I don't believe in this. And it was so progressive and it was so far forward thinking that now our entire society functions that way, but it could not have functioned without the group of people who came together and stood up against the masses for their progressive ideas and said, no, I believe that what I believe in is going to progress society, and I think you all need to listen. I'm going to keep fighting until I change everyone's mind and make this, whatever this is, the new standard. Their causes are usually something that they just feel like will make the world better and make each citizen, mind you, this is the differentness of each, this is a person who accepts the differentness of each person. They want to make the society a little bit more inclusive and a little bit more fair and peaceful and comfortable for all different types of groups. And you want to make it better. I mean, even small examples, like for example, I'm a mixed race person. I'm black and white, but there was not an other box to check your race until I believe it was the year 2000. And I was born at the end of 1994. And so it absolutely blew my mind. And there was somebody out there, and that's a very, very small example, but somebody out there who fought and said, no, that there's another marginalized group of people that's not being represented here, and I want everyone to be represented. I'm not saying that there was a group or an organization or cause that fought for that. I don't know if there was. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. But make society a little bit more progressive so that when we are filling out applications for school or for work or for a scholarship or for anything, we see it more closely reflect everyone in this world and be more inclusive. And when the list was made, obviously those things weren't in mind. What, mixed race people? No, it's black, it's white, it's Asian, it's like, no, there's way more than that. And so once again, very, very small example, you fight for things to be more progressive with your group. And this creates friendships because your group is all you have, especially when you're trying to put these progressive ideas out into society and nobody believes you. I mean, think about if you're a white abolitionist who does not believe in slavery and you live in the year 1780.
no one's going to really be on your side. You cannot really befriend the group of people, not at the time that you're trying to protect. You cannot befriend the people who are in power, who are like you, because they do not think like you, even though they look like you. So the group really is conducive to friendships because it is all you have to rely on, because the world, in a sense, is kind of like fighting back, and you guys are like all just lined up in a circle facing outwards, just being your own little bubble of power. You guys fortify each other and rely on each other to keep the idea going, to keep the dream alive, because 11th house is about dreams, and to assure each other, like, no, we can do this. This is right. This does matter, and we're going to get through this, and we're going to make this real. You get a lot of joy, moving on from the social part for a second. You get a lot of joy from fighting for your cause, even if you're just an individual. You get a lot of joy pushing your progressive ideas. I recently went to a Black Lives Matter march, and I felt, I don't have 11th house Jupiter, I have 11th house Venus, but just an example of feeling so happy to be there and push and to chant for something that I actually believe in, something that sadly is kind of progressive, because people still are not understanding the Black Lives Matter movement and what it means, and that it is inclusive. And I don't want to get too much into it, but it felt really good to feel like I was being a part of change and being a part of pushing society forward. And in 20, 30 years, an 11th house Jupiter person will love to say, hey, I was there, I fought for that cause, I was a part of that. The bus boycott of the 60s, that's a very 11th house Jupiter thing. I mean, people socializing, talking to even come up with the idea, help each other, even, and I think it took 360 something days, like it took over a year, and they still, it was a social thing that they all did to push for a greater progressive cause together, and they helped each other and they relied on each other. They carpooled. I mean, if you're a person who takes the bus and you are boycotting the bus, who do you have? And think about when those people are riding to work, they're talking. They're not only getting to know each other personally, they're getting to know what the cause means for each person. They are, what's the word? Keeping hope alive in each other is the phrase. It's a really good example of 11th house Jupiter scenario. We're all going to get together and fight for a greater cause that nobody was trying to change. And then would you look at it now? I mean, anyone could sit anywhere, and that was very progressive at the time back then, but now it's just standard. And so 11th house Jupiter people really are valuable to society for the friendships, and for the friendships that they make that push a higher cause. You guys really get joy. Like I said, Jupiter's about joy, of feeling like your desire for utopia and your dream gets pushed a little closer to reality by your actions, even if it's just attending a protest or signing a petition or writing a bill or speaking to someone, a politician. You feel like, yeah, I'm really fighting for something, and even though I may die and never see the utopia that's in my mind, I have pushed towards it. Martin Luther King is a great example. He never got to see, all the inclusiveness that is of today. Never got to see Obama, never got to see Black and white people just everywhere, Asian, Hispanic, everywhere on the bus, and the great strides that he was fighting for. But the joy is in knowing that you helped keep the ball rolling. And so in our everyday 2020 example, these are people who will stand on the street and be like, hey, sign this petition for this that impacts global warming, or this animal group that's going extinct. These are people who fight for rights to Planned Parenthood, people who hand out pins and stuff like that. And then in our 2020 example, after they're done handing out pins for animal cruelty and Planned Parenthood and whatever, they might go out for drinks and they might laugh and have fun. Maybe they talk about the ideals a little bit, and maybe they talk about other things. Maybe they talk about everything. But the point is, the bonding was, yeah, we did something that mattered. And obviously you're already, like I said, you're already going to be very similar, because you're already believing in the same things. You're already both have that thing in you where you're not even, like, a lot of people believe in things but they're too lazy to go get up and go out and do it. Those are the people you won't meet. You'll meet the people that not only believe as much as you but care as much as you. And you get a lot of joy because you're just extremely humanitarian. You might donate a lot of your time, money, attention to charitable causes. Like I said, causes like PETA, causes that help feed the homeless. I remember one time I went to, and this is my 12th house Jupiter thing going on, but just an example of an 11th house Jupiter experience. I went at work, they have this sign up board where you can sign up to do community service. And I was trying to do anything to get out of work, so I was like, I'll go. But I also believe in charity. Like I said, I have a 12th house Jupiter. So I get there and I meet people. Like I said, I work at a very big job who I see every day, but who I had never crossed paths with or never spoken to. And I got to know quite a bit about them, how they got here and what makes them want to be in this room that we're in right now. And I learned there's a organization, it's called Caring for Friends. And what they would do is they would deliver meals and companionship to people. So we're not just dropping off meals to people. We're actually sitting with them, talking with them for an hour. And sometimes that hour is all that the person, socialization that the person gets, besides maybe a caretaker, or maybe they don't get any at all. And through us all caring about the same thing, we got to know each other. I had a boss who didn't like me that much. And after, we're on great terms now. So that's an example of fighting for a cause, for hunger, for giving back, for caring for others, for people. We all came together and got to know each other, made friends, made social connections that lasted, because we're like, hey, I see you, you're a good person. You got up 5 hours before you had to do an 8-hour shift just so you could donate your time and attention and your love for a little bit. And then we all drove back to work together, got some food, ate, and then we started our shift. And that's a really good example of 11th house Jupiter experience. You could be the comedian in your friend group. Jupiter is the funny person. Like I said, my friend Kay has 11th house Jupiter. She is so funny. She's also Sagittarius ascendant though. And I knew another woman who had 11th house Jupiter in Libra as well, and she was a Sagittarius ascendant. And so I add that to say that that's part of why they were funny. But you'll be the funny man, you'll be the comedian in your group, the lighthearted one, the jovial one, the one that people may think doesn't really have any problems, because you may always just get around your friends and start joking, but they just make you so happy that you don't even want to dwell on the darker things. And this might be intentional or not, but you always just kind of put on a happy face around your friends, so they just expect this from you. And it's not a bad thing. You may cheer your friends up in doing so, and even by putting on a happy face, you know that term, like, if you smile, it makes you scientifically somehow feel better. Just by being around them and putting on that happy face, even if it's for them or to keep up a facade, it does tend to translate and trickle back to you a little bit. It does make you happier as well. Your friends may come to you for a laugh or for optimistic advice when they're down. They may be like, hey, I just broke up with somebody or whatever, and they may feel the need to come to you and to just release that and get your good energy. And you may really enjoy sharing your comedy and your humor and your lightheartedness with them, and it just kind of goes back and forth and it builds. You really naturally embrace and love your quirkiness and all that makes you different. You know, in this society, a lot of us try to push that down and be what we think the mold of cool is, but you're totally okay, like letting your freak flag fly in a sense. You may try to be excessively, I would say, progressive or different, and this is somebody who may even get their ideals or the groups that they're in. They'll be so in your face about, like, they might get t-shirts that say PETA, or they may get tattoos. I mean, even someone getting like a swastika tattoo. I mean, that's a negative example, but that is a group of people who very strongly believe in what they think are progressive ideas, you know, in contrast to the abolitionist group that I gave you, and they may get that tattooed on them. So they may try to raise their excessive beliefs, not only because they believe them, but because it makes them unique, and it is very excessive and eccentric in a sense. And so yeah, that's it, guys. That was 11th house Jupiter. 11th house Jupiter is very simple. So it was a more direct video than usual. More videos to come my next video is Uranus and the 10th, you guys, and I'm very excited about that one. And I really enjoy doing this one as well. So like I said before, sometimes it takes me a really long time to get to something because I do work a full-time job and then I have another part-time job on the side. So I am very busy and very disorganized and lazy sometimes. But please continue to request stuff that you may like. I will add it to my list. And I will try to get it out to you as soon as possible. Please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think, how you think my interpretation was. I try to respond to everybody. And until next time,